Es impresionante el éxito anticipado de 50 Shades of Grey. Ay, y no es para menos, ¿eh? Oye, pues la trilogía del libro ha vendido más de 100 millones de copias alrededor de todo el mundo y aparte fue traducido en más de 52 idiomas. ¡Ay, güey! Dylan, tu personaje muestra pues un poquito del pasado y de quién es Anastasia, ¿no? ¿Por qué es tan importante mostrar a Bob en esta película, tu personaje?
I think what the role of Bob is in the first movie is he's a good guy. He's a traditional, loving husband and father, and I think it's the juxtaposition between Bob's relationship with Anastasia's mother, Carla, that shows Anastasia to kind of make her really question this new relationship that she's in with Christian. And of course, she's really questioning what she's doing with him.
Claro, porque Anastasia es una mujer buena, ella no tenía esas costumbres y de repente se topa en la vida con este hombre millonario y él es el que la vuelve en todo este mundo del sadomasoquismo, del sexo.
Well, of course it is. I mean, that relationship and everything that they go through is the whole core of the movie. But, you know, it's not just all about the S&M. I mean, there is like a real relationship at the core of this movie, and they really want to make sure that comes across. You know, obviously it's a very sexy movie. There's a lot of titillation, but there is a real relationship at the core, and that's really important to the success of the movie.
Claro. En tu opinión, ¿qué efecto va a tener esta película en todas las personas que vayan a verla?
I don't know if it'll be any kind of change. I mean, this is not really a new topic, right? I mean, there's been authors going back to Anais Nin that, you know, talk about sexual intrigue and bondage and S&M. It's just that this series of books, for some reason, became a phenomenon around the world. And there's no real understanding of exactly why that happened. I think it has a little bit to do because it started with Twilight fan fiction and then kind of morphed into its own thing. I think it's also because this book was available as a digital download and you could read this and nobody knew what you were reading. I think that's part of why it was such a huge hit around the world. No one knew what you were reading. There were housewives all around the world that were secretly reading this out in public and nobody knew. I think
My
that was,
wife.
¿Sí?
Mi esposa, un día llegué a la casa y me dice mi vieja, pégame, y ahí yo pegando, órale, y nunca lo había hecho, pero le gustó.
Yeah.
Anne-Marie, bienvenida a Noches con Platanito también. Oye, Anne-Marie, una pregunta. ¿Tú ya eras fan de estos libros antes de que salieras en la película?
I had heard about them from a lot of different people, and I didn't know what the title meant. I didn't know what the subject matter was, and I kept hearing about it. And so I finally said, well, I have to check this out. And as I was reading through, you know, I was, okay, this is interesting. And I started reading through, and then when my character, Dr. Green, showed up in the book, I actually, when I was reading it, I went, I could totally play her. and then I had no idea that they were ever going to make a movie, and then eventually they did decide to make a movie, and then they decided to shoot in Vancouver, which is where I live and work. And then I got an audition, and it all worked out pretty well.
Y te quedaste con este papel. Tu personaje, Dr. Green, ella es la ginecóloga de todas las mujeres que tiene Christian Grey.
That's right. I think I know she knows that he has a string of girlfriends because she is the one that, you know, checks them out and makes sure that everybody's healthy. She's protecting him. She's making sure that nobody gets pregnant. And yeah, so I think she knows that he's an interesting person, but I don't know that she knows anything about the Red Room of Pain.
Pero en esta película vamos a poder ver la misma intensidad de sexo que hay en el libro.
I think it'll be close. I mean, it did ultimately come with an R rating. It's not NC-17. You know, the studio had to protect their investment. I don't think there has been a really successful NC-17 movie stateside. So it was probably very smart to make it an R, and of course the tracking is showing that this movie is probably going to open up really big. So I think it was the smart move. I think they're going to be very faithful to the book. I haven't seen the final cut or anything, so you know, I'll be seeing it with everyone else.
I do know that they saved the sex scenes to the very end so that the lead actors could get to know each other and get comfortable.
Yeah.
And I did hear, too, that the wardrobe department had packed up and left 2 weeks before they wrapped because there was no clothes required.
Ya no había.
So fairly faithful.
Sí, no, perfecto. No, muchas felicidades.